Hello and welcome. I'm Kit Alowitz with another Leadership Journey video segment. Today I will be interviewing, again, Dr. Brett Savage. Welcome, Brett.
Hi.
Today we're going to be talking in more depth about contribution and performance. My sense is, after exposing us to on the leadership journey around this idea of performance and contribution, that we still don't have a critical mass yet in terms of believing that there is a difference between performance and contribution. And better yet, having a clear understanding of how, if we have a real clean understanding of the differences, that it can help transform our business. So I brought Brett here today for him to talk more about this idea of what is the difference, and or what does it look like in trying to describe performance and contribution for us here at our organization. Brett, how would you respond to that?
Happy. The difference between performance and contribution is captured in the necessary but not sufficient. And the connection is very subtle. It looks like this. And you already know this. We're just going to give some definition of the words. Have you ever done a great job? You performed maybe better than you ever have, but something happened to take all the value out. Customer changed their mind, that particular project or assignment was shelved. Something happened that made all that hard work meaningless. That's the difference between performance and contribution. You did a great job. You performed very well, perhaps better than you ever had, but something happened where it gave no value, there was no impact, and that's contribution. So we always say you have to perform in order to contribute. That's a given, which is why all the research is around performance and contribution. There's no versus, they're always mingled together. So the difference is you perform well, doing your job, great, well done. Contribution means somebody else, the customer, your peers, your boss's boss, they noticed and saw the value of it. In fact, even the added value of it, and that's the critical difference between those two things. Does that help?
Yeah. No, that's very helpful. In fact, it makes me think of at least three follow-up questions I'd like to ask you. The first one, and then I'd like you to give us your reaction, your experience to this question is, set the record straight. Does contribution, or looking in terms of contribution in your job, does it equal more hours you have to work?
That's a good question. The answer is sometimes. It doesn't automatically mean that if I'm going to contribute more, I've got to work harder, work longer hours, though sometimes people do. But it's consistently part of the research that to contribute more, particularly if you're a manager, you might work less. As far as hours, you're working smarter rather than just longer or harder. So that's good news in my book.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, and I can appreciate that. If you're trying to decrease your marathon time, you're not necessarily spending more time training. You're training smarter. Rather than just running flat, you're doing hills. So maybe there's some sort of analogy or some way for us to get our head around how can we as a manager not get stuck in this trap that looking at contribution means more hours. Because I've been asked that a number of times, and so thank you for talking to that and addressing it. Now, what about this other thing that tends to come up quite often, which is if I'm trying to go from phase 2 to phase 3, set the record straight on this one, it's not entirely about figuring out how to delegate more. It's broader, it's bigger, it's larger than just delegation as a way to move from phase 2 to phase 3.
Yeah, that's true. There's lots of elements to phase 3, and I don't know that we've covered all of them. We usually put up the major 10 bullet points so that you can look at them and go, oh, there's 10. And you can pick and choose, and they're the top 10, as it were. Delegation is one of the key things, building relationships so that you can influence a broader set of people. You never know what those relationships will give you. There may be an outcome, there may be not. There's no guarantee of that, but there is a guarantee that if you don't have the trust, the business savvy relationships with other people, there's almost a guarantee if you don't have those, then when you need them, you can't call upon them. It's harder to ask a stranger to do something in your behalf than it is a friend. To the delegation piece, it sometimes means you delegate, but it's not just anything, and it clearly doesn't mean dumping some project you don't want, an assignment you're tired of on somebody else. It is a very stylized, what would be in the best interest of the employee you're going to delegate it to, so that it's challenging, something they've got to learn and pick up. It'll be something new, which generally when you ask people about assignments they've done in the past they really liked, there's challenge, there's newness. So it's not just doing the same thing in the same way. In fact, it may be that you're delegating an assignment you've been hoarding for yourself because you liked it. It may be the really sexy kind. When you delegate those, the message that comes along with it is, because everyone knows what the best assignments, customers, projects are. They know already. When you give away one of those and carefully, incrementally lay it out so they'll be successful at it, the message is clear. You wouldn't have trusted me with this, or you wouldn't have given this to me unless you trusted me with it, if you didn't think that it was something I could do well in. So while delegation is a part, it's delegating the right kind of assignments at the right time to the right people. And that's the sort of work we'll be doing going forward. It's not just delegation, it's right place, right time, right way.
Yeah, okay, I like that. That's great. Well, Brett and I sat down and we penned out about 7 different scenarios to give, 7 scenarios across different cross groups or business units at our organization to give you just a quick sense of what the difference and what the similarity is between or with performance and contribution. And we tried to pick various business units so you can give you a sense, if you're listening to this, watching this video, so you can resonate with it wherever you are in our organization. So I'll take the first one, and then Brett and I will just kind of go back and forth. The first one is in sales. If you're looking at performance, it might be as simple as completing a sales forecast each month. And if you want to turn that into contribution, you would complete your sales forecast and you would enlist others to help those who are involved in getting an accurate forecast to get really good at the stakeholder analysis, because stakeholder analysis is directly tied to the probability that the forecast is going to be more accurate. It's going to close when it should close.
Yeah, that is a good one. Well, let's take the performance, just for performance. When you're having a performance conversation, checking all the boxes, doing it when you should be doing it, that's good performance. Contribution would be, and it wouldn't take you maybe a few minutes longer, is to have a conversation with the employee about how their performance links, or does not link, if the case may be, to what is most meaningful to them, what they care about. How does it connect with something that would be developmental for them? That's the added piece that may, doesn't always, but may turn into, before you have that next performance conversation, there may be a point in time that there's perhaps a change of assignment. I've seen that happen where, look, you're not rowing in the boat in the best place. Move sideways just over a little bit. So sometimes little tweaks in the actual projects and assignments will give them an opportunity for them to add value, right? For them to contribute more, and not just going through the motions of checking the boxes on performance. You're now thinking added value, greater impact inside the whole performance expectations that you're already having.
Yeah, I like that one. Here's another one. This one's from the marketing department. Performance might look like delivering exactly what our outside sales engineers want, which is often just lunch and learns. Contribution would be not only delivering that lunch and learn, but delivering a presentation that you take the time ahead of time to work with all the important stakeholders to dig up exactly what common applications are at the customer site, so you deliver a very tailored to their specific challenges and opportunities rather than just a bland lunch and learn.
And we've had a lot of those.
Yeah, right.
Well, to the point you were asking about earlier, around is it just delegation or is it only delegation, what that looks like, here's an opportunity to add value. Performance would be that, let's say, a manager would give assignments to people and sort of divvy them out. Well, it's your turn, and it's your turn, and it's your turn. Here's another one, is that you actually think about, and hopefully have had a conversation, And here's the contribution piece is not about simply performance vis-a-vis expectations inside the job role and what you're doing in that Q1, Q2, Q3, and then of course the big push at Q4 to make it all come together. It is getting out in front of it from a career standpoint. Is what's the career does this person have? What are their aspirations? Let's say, for an example, as a friend said to his boss, where do you see yourself in 5 years? He said, in your chair. And he wasn't threatened by that at all. He said, I think that's a good aspiration. Let's take a look at what the next 3 or 4 years would look like for you in order to make you a candidate for sitting in this chair. So yes, it was performance related. It always is. But now they're looking for ways of him making a greater impact in his current role. No promotion needed, so that he looks like a great candidate for the next promotion, which fits not only the need for, by the way, his boss wanted to move too. They all were going to move to the next place. But now you're having a career conversation, which adds value on top of just sort of managing performance and getting work done.
Yeah, I like that one as well. That's great.
It works pretty well, actually.
Yeah. Well, there's two good examples from a leader perspective, a managerial perspective. Let me share another one from sales. Performance might simply be turning in your forecast every month. Performance and contribution might look like speaking to other friends and colleagues and associates in other industries who have also maybe figured out how to master the forecasting process so that we can get more accurate in our process and help our organization perform based on managed expectations. Here's another one for you. This one's from operations. Here's a very specific one. Performance might look like providing border states the order confirmation information that they need to manage their system. Performance and contribution might look like providing border states each month an analysis of their ordering locations and looking for inefficiencies to help border states run their business better. And I would be remiss if I didn't include one from customer service, the preeminent customer experience arena, right?
Right.
Okay, so what might look like just performance would be completing the application data sheet, doing the bare minimum that's required to actually size an instrument or an opportunity. Performance and contribution might look like asking where the radars and the other instruments are going and how the purchase that they're thinking of engaging internationals in impacts or is part of a bigger scope, a bigger opportunity. So helping the customer beyond just what he's asking for, he or she is asking for. So there's 7 examples of how performance and contribution can work together as we try to increase our perceived contribution to our organization. Now, as we close down this video today, I have a question for Brett, and then I'll attempt to do just a brief, powerful, emotional close. So here's the question for Brett, and he may make the close right here. Brett's been involved on this journey of helping organizations, managers, and leaders for nearly 30 years.
Almost.
Collected some 100,000 data points. So obviously you must have a passion for it, you must have a love for it, otherwise you probably would have given up your day job and gone and done something else. In fact, we're in beautiful Utah today. We're in Brett's backyard, and you can see he's a master at the landscaping as well. What has fended off your any desire to take up landscaping per se and stick to this passion around performance and contribution?
Wow, okay. It's the same as the difference between performance and contribution, I think, because I hope I make a contribution. I don't want to perform well alone because performance is making your job better. Contribution is making your job better and everybody else around you's job better. In fact, one of my favorite questions is, how can I do my job in a way that will help you do your job better? One question questionnaire. Any of you could ask that. For me, this is what gets me up in the morning and charges me every single time, because every single person requires a customized approach to finding the way to add value for themselves, for their role, for their team, for their customer, for their boss. And when you can find that, it's magic, and it's always been magic to me.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, it's pretty cool when you find people, employees, bosses, leaders, people in the world that are passionate about what they do. So I want to thank Brett for the interview today, and I want to challenge you to continue to pursue your own thinking, learning, understanding of the the difference and the value and the similarities and the crossover between performance and contribution. Because as we as an organization find that sweet spot, we will exponentially increase our effectiveness on our road, our journey to preeminence. I'm Kit Alowitz, and we'll see you next time.